Hey Awesomes, how we doing? I thought I'd cut a video as promised about Project 4, our performance review. It's coming due December 17th, a couple weeks or so, or maybe a little over 2 weeks now. So let's get right into it, kind of talk about what's expected or what I would like to see in this, kind of give you a little bit of a heads up. How's that sound? All right, so I'll minimize down here into the corner. All right, so I'm on our course website under projects. Performance 4 review memo pulled up here. And recall that I had said that the readings for week 14, or I guess you could say this week, really pertain to this project. And so you can review those. It may help you in thinking about some of the things that you might, maybe even some of the language, or at least get an idea of the audience and the purpose for this particular document. Number one, I'm your audience. So you're making a case to me as the instructor for your performance in this class. Second, your purpose then would be to, as it says here in the second paragraph of the Project 4 sheet here, to evaluate your own performance against the learning objectives for English 3050 and to establish opportunities for improving performance in future writing courses and in professional settings. So what that basically means, and this is kind of where I really want to spend the bulk of the time. So in essence, you can select a project or two, all right? I think 2 or 3 would be a good strong number to evaluate your performance. So let's say that you chose Project 1A, the resume and the job application letter, and it says against the learning objectives, right, for that. And then you could also look at how these are detailed as far as like the rubric is concerned. And then here, the learning objective here is you will learn how to make honest and aesthetically pleasing job search documents that are tailored to a specific position within a specific company. Okay, that's kind of like one of the learning objectives overall, but what I'd like to more draw your attention to as you look at each one of those is back to the syllabus and look at the learning objectives that we have here, all right, or learning outcomes, if you will. So what we have in this particular situation is basically are kind of 4 main, if you will, learning outcomes. So you got writing and designing, writing effectively. Okay, so this is where you can tie the learning objective from the specific project that you choose as one of your examples in which you are going to make your quote-unquote argument in this memo or this review or this evaluation, I should say, of your performance on this particular, so if it's Project 1A, so it'd be the resume. So you could talk about the things that are in this more expanded view, if you will, of that particular learning outcome. So then we might have a learning outcome that's read, analyze, and evaluate the design of, the audience of, purpose of technical documents. Design and conduct primary and secondary research. Project 3, right? Using technology and media, make productive use of current technologies for reading, research, writing, and designing technical documents. So here you might think about the WikiHow assignment, right, where the technology we used obviously was the computer, right? We used graphics. You could also make a case for graphics in the Project 3C, right? You could also talk about designing technical documents and memos. You could talk about that in Project 1A, the professional website, etc., etc. So my point of showing you this, going back to the syllabus and showing you the learning outcomes on the actual syllabus itself, so you can make a connection to what is stated at the end of most of the projects after the rubric. I believe most of them are located there. So let's go with a user test memo as maybe another example of something that you did. And we would scroll down to the bottom. You'll be able to conduct open-ended outcome-based testing and to record the results in a usable manner. You'll also be able to report test findings in a professional memo format. So this is kind of talking about both the technical usage, right, designing documentation, as well as the writing learning outcome for the course. All right, so let's go back to projects. So I wanted to kind of give you some sort of an idea of where to go, how the document that you're making, the performance review memo, how this might be able to help you think about where to go, not only looking at your own work, but where to go on our course site to help us find these things, right? So, because you want to be very specific. So if you're evaluating your own performance, as it states right here in the second paragraph, to evaluate your own performance against the learning objectives for English 3050 and to establish opportunities improving performance in future writing courses in professional settings. So you're going to find that information, number one, in each one of the projects. So you'll have a learning objective stated at the very bottom, then you can tie that back to a particular learning outcome that's on the syllabus, and you'll want to bring those in very specifically. It's totally fine to quote those, and it's also just fine to refer to those, although you could take a learning objective, match it with one of the projects that you've done that you feel that you have performed exceptionally well in, and then say, okay, in this particular one, that learning outcome stated, and then you could quote the section of it that you felt that you really performed well in. And then if in that same learning outcome there's a part of it that you felt that maybe you could have done better, or that there's an opportunity to use it down the road or whatever, you could also address number 2 as well. So that's kind of an overview of like how you can find some things to help you. And obviously your own performance are the actual projects that you've done, right? So you can refer to your own work, right? You can refer to project 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, and 3C, project 5, and so forth and so on. The discussion posts are equally projects that if you feel that there was a learning outcome that you can tie directly into, that you can make that claim. All right, so basically it's like claim and evidence in a way, right? So you make a claim that you felt that you've done X, Y, Z in a project, or X in a project, or Y and Z in a project, or whatever. Then your evidence that you're going to show is demonstrate that you understand the learning outcome, number 1. Number 2, how in that particular project do you feel that you performed well. All right, so introduction. All right, so here's kind of the basics, right? Now remember, let's go back up here. This is a memo. All right, so we understand the technical documentation that we've learned, genre, right? And so we understand that the genre of the memo in this course looks a certain way, right? And I've provided you with several examples. So while you may feel like I'm going to go back and I'm just going to kind of use the same formatting for the memo, I'm going to employ the same hierarchy, yes, that's good, because when you go to a workplace or another professional environment, they will kind of expect you to then just kind of adapt to those conventions, right? Those genre conventions, those rhetorically repeating elements. All right, so we've got so we put an introduction. Okay, introduction, boom, right? That might be a heading, right? So provide an overview of the topic of the memo and the points you will discuss. Orient the reader to the purpose of the memo, right, and your main points. Include a description of the learning objectives you will be referring to throughout your memo. So this is kind of where you set up everything. Okay, this is what I'm doing. This is my purpose. Orient the reader again, right? And then you want to include that description of there are particular learning outcomes that you feel are germane to your argument. This is when you would kind of bring those in. In the body of the document, right, you have your performance review, heading, and then maybe 2 subheadings: individual performance, assess your work, right? Collaborative performance, how would your writing process adapt? How would you change your approach to these projects, if at all, right? How successfully you fulfilled the learning objectives for this course. Again, using specific tasks within the projects or specific things that you did. Again, same thing for collaborative performance. Conclusion, another heading. And then now you will argue whether or not your work for this semester individually and collaboratively met the learning objectives, right? Maybe specific ones that you felt. Identify 2 to 3 lessons, findings, or strategies drawn from this semester's work that you might apply to future writing projects. So now that you've kind of assessed your performance, your conclusion, 1 to 2 paragraphs. Okay, 1 paragraph, do what this first bullet point asks you to do, right? Do that. And then second paragraph, it can be this, right? Easy. This performance review is kind of like this easy to write. You just need to make sure obviously the part here is going to be the content. So your very last paragraph is going to identify 2 to 3 lessons, findings, or strategies that you've drawn from, right? Maybe some of the discussion posts we did early on about technical communication. Maybe you learned something through Project 3C about primary research versus secondary research that you can then take and use in future writing projects, okay? Whether these lessons might be about your own performance or making team performances more effective, anything that you've learned there, okay? 2 to 3 pages, single-spaced, right? Remember, this is memo format, standard memo format, single-spaced, 2 to 3 pages. I do expect a hierarchy. I do expect the memo formatting at the top, and I do expect an introduction, performance review, major headings, 2 subheadings in the performance review, and a final heading for conclusion with at least these 2 paragraphs covering these particular items. All right? All right, that's a quick overview. Hope that's some valuable information. If you have any questions about that, please do not hesitate to let me know. All right, I know you guys are busy working on projects on your Project 3C, your collaborative actual research report. So I'm around. So please let me know if there's more than I can do for you. I wish you all a great week. How do I do this? Yeah, there it is. Thanks for watching. Bye.